What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Peyton Hillis episode 40 of the Barking Brown Show presented by Couch Guy Sports. I am your host, Jacob at Roachism13 on the Twitterverse, joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Nick Carnes at Carnsies817 on Twitter. Nick, how are we doing?
Hi. You know what? I'm pretty excited because our bets are moving right along here, our playoff bracket bets.
But I got kicked right in the dick this weekend on the playoff bets.
And I feel like all this hair is like begging for those of us who can see, begging for a mohawk, but I don't know if mohawk is in the future now. I'm not sure. I really thought when the Packers lost, man, I thought it was Mohawk City. And
Buddy, I did too. I felt so great. I was like, don't worry, this is gonna be great. The freaking the Bills will take care of business on Sunday night. By the way, greatest football game I've ever watched. We'll talk about that here in a second. But real quick, we're gonna do some T's and P's. Talk about a little bit of a word from our sponsors. Ever feel unable to focus, tired, and just low in energy? We understand that feeling. We understand it so well that the Barking Brown Show is brought to you by the Couch Guy Sports Network and sponsored by our friends over at Shocked Energy. Shocked Energy is a drink by gamers for gamers. All their flavors come packed with 180 milligrams of caffeine to ensure that no matter what you're doing, your focus will always be razor sharp to keep you performing at the top of your game. Their formulas are designed to specifically give you high energy boosts when you need it most while ensuring to avoid the jitters after too much caffeine consumption. Head on over to shockedenergy.com and use the promo code CGSN today for 10% off your order. Check out their green apple flavored box or even the watermelon flavored box. And don't worry, they ship worldwide. That's right, worldwide. Get your Shocked Energy today and let us help you regain your focus and energy back. So, a little bit of a housekeeping. I wanted to say this because I have, for some reason, not said it in forever. And I will say that thank you yet again. The most precious thing you can give anybody is their time. And thank you yet again for another week, 40 straight weeks of giving some of your time to us. We are ever so grateful. Like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube, to the Twitters. I've got a Patreon announcement to make as well here in just a minute.
We've got, I mean, I know last week I messed up and I said it was going to be the Peyton Hillis episode because my brain was somewhere. I don't know where, but it really is crazy that not only is this episode 40, but we're quickly approaching a full year of this, right? I mean, obviously it's 52 weeks in a year, but you know what I'm saying? It's like
the Monday after the draft.
Yeah. And so I don't know where the time went. And thank you again to our wonderful, you know what? I don't care. Like, obviously our patrons are wonderful and anyone who's watching, it just time, like Jacob always says, but time is so valuable. And as the weeks go on, suddenly you start to realize, hey, we've been at this for a while now. So thanks to everybody. And thank you to Zabo Apparel, who, got Roger his shirt. And as always, we'll be doing our new monthly giveaway because we're full steam ahead towards February here. So our next monthly Patreon shirt giveaway will be going, and they have great stuff. So, you could win. And Jacob's got some fun stuff that you're going to find out about here that'll make it a little bit more tempting. And
so the Patreon announcements coming this week. I talked to the current Patreon members. If those of you who don't know, I also write over at Couch Guy Sports. I started my off-season content over there with 3 edge prospects that I like for your Cleveland Browns. I wrote up a little, about 3 or so paragraphs on each prospect. I'm going to do a slightly deeper dive in tonight's draft corner of those 3 prospects, those 3 edge prospects. But going forward, I do a lot of film study of these prospects on Saturday nights at some unpredetermined time. We will discuss, we will get on here on a recording. You can join me live. Members of the Patreon can join me live as we do a film study of the 3 prospects that I cover in my articles. This week we are doing defensive tackle. So there will be 3 defensive tackle prospects highlighted that I'll have written up and published on Saturday. And then Saturday night, we will go over some film study, and I'll go more in depth and nuance than I do here on the show and in the film. Just kind of show you what I'm like. I'm a self-taught film study nerd and draft analyst, I guess is what you want to call. I call myself that, but I also think that whatever that every pick the Browns make will be spectacular. That's not true. I did not love you can ask anybody. I did not love the Richard LeCount pick last year. Which obviously the verdict's still out, but like I was kind of like, nah, bro, what are you doing there? I liked him more when I studied this film. But so we will be doing a recording of a film study that will drop for the Patreons that the Patreons can also join live. So if you are on Twitter, producer Ed is monitoring the comments, so please fire away. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, we appreciate everybody that's on here. Fire the questions away. Tonight, you know what? Let's bring on the great producer, Ed, and let's ask him. Ed, what do we got going on tonight, my friend?
Well, we got a great show as we're full speed ahead into the off season. But I want to give a shout out to Michelle216 and Chip. Also, they're commenting on Twitter. So mad love to them because they support us and we love that. And we're going to support you guys going forward. And as all Browns Nation should support each other. And obviously, we had a great weekend of football without the Browns actually being in the playoffs. I would have to say that this was the most exciting divisional round of NFL playoffs that I've ever seen myself, as you talked about earlier, Jacob. I mean, 4 games, last play of the game decided all 4 contests. Yeah. You couldn't get much better than that. And I do live in Columbus, and that's part Houday Nation, so they're going crazy down here, and I'm conflicted. As a 9-year-old, I remember when the 49ers played the Bengals, and it was the '89 season, January of 1990, and I was little at the time, and I kind of rooted for the Bengals, and I didn't know any better. But looking back at it now, I'm so glad that they didn't win, because as a Browns fan, I can say, well, yes, you did make it to 2 Super Bowls, but you don't have any wins. Same with the Browns. So we still have that going. So, the 9-year-old naive self is glad, well, is happy now that they didn't win. So, but I will say one thing. If they do upset the Chiefs, they definitely, would have definitely earned it, because I don't see them getting by Patrick Mahomes. That Chiefs team, I think they had a scare during the regular season, but I think they're full steam ahead, just like we are in the off season. And I just want you guys' thoughts of this weekend real quick. What are you guys thinking? And if you had to lay any money down, which I'm not a gambler, because if I do, I always lose. So if somebody really wants to win, give me money and have me bet on the team, and guess what? Just the opposite will happen. So I can guarantee that. So
I'll tell you what, man. Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
I personally think I just watched the Chiefs play their best football just their best football I've seen them play in probably a long time. And Joe Burrow and like his heroics to beat Tennessee were great, right? Because he was sacked 9 times, and that's like crazy how he was able to overcome that. But Ryan Tannehill, I don't think Ryan Tannehill wasn't good enough to take advantage of the Titans defense just beating up Burrow. Patrick Mahomes is gonna take advantage of the opportunities you give him, because you can't protect Burrow. And so for me, I'm not sure what the line is, right? Because that gets weird. But I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm taking the Chiefs, and I think, especially because the Bengals have already beaten them. They are and granted it's for the Super Bowl, but there's going to be a little extra there, I think. So give me the Chiefs.
Well, they thought they had that game. Yeah. I mean,
they
KC did. Almost had that game against the Bengals the first time around. So I think that's a big deal. We'll talk about this. So I'll talk about these games, and then we'll move on to the games that happened. Yeah, you're not going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs with 19 points.
Nope.
And you got to remember, Kansas City, they got Josh Allen in that offense, man. They shut down Stephon Diggs, and Josh Allen still. You know what I mean?
Speaking of Stephon Diggs, what did you think about that hit he laid on that fan that rushed the field?
Oh, yeah.
I
almost didn't catch it. I was like, did Stephon Diggs just tackle a dude?
And he was not having it, man. He was not a happy camper.
Dude, he did it so effortlessly. He was just like, yeah, fuck this, man. Because wasn't it hilarious?
Obviously, if Stephon Diggs was on the field, so the Bills are on offense, and it's like that fan coming on the field, stops their momentum. right? And I would imagine that's why he was pissed.
That fan so thought he was getting to that football.
I heard a rumor that the guy, it was like $1,000 bet or something like that. I think the guy got it. I don't know if I take a hit like that for $1,000. Yeah. Oh, you definitely get arrested for that. They said you better lawyer up pretty much too, because there's a lot of charges that, it's more than just, a simple, indecency, public, whatever, they're going to charge him with. I mean, they like to throw the book at him because obviously they don't want to have this going on. But I remember Joey Porter back in the day, he laid somebody out at a Browns Steelers game, and it was before wide receiver. I thought Stephon Diggs did a pretty nice job. Clean tackle. Yeah. Clean tackle.
It was a good hit. It was a good hit.
I just want to add too, if the Chiefs do win this weekend, I believe we're sending Jacob to Fu Manchu land. And I'm sure he can decide when he does. But so we're tied right now because we both have the Bengals going to the AFC Championship. Look at that. Look at us. Big brain. Mm-hmm. But anyway, but Jacob's 2 Super Bowl teams were eliminated, being the Bucks and the Bills. And so I lost the Green Bay bet because I thought Green Bay would win the Super Bowl, but I did have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl, which is basically the tiebreaker. If the Chiefs lose, if the Bengals go to the Super Bowl, we end up tied. Well, then I don't know. I don't know.
We owe Jacob an apology. We scoffed at him when Jacob said Green Bay's not going to win a playoff game. Well, and I remember Nick and I both laughed. We both laughed at the idea. Yeah. And Jacob, you were right. Once again, Green Bay laid an egg.
And Tom Brady almost Tom Brady'd his way back to the NFC championship there, right there. No, man, I think that was the best weekend of football I've ever experienced, honestly. Yeah. I mean, the only playoff game that I had more fun at was the playoff game against the Steelers last year, but that was solely for, being a Browns fan. And so I know that wasn't the greatest, game that I had ever watched. It was the biggest win for me or whatever, but the greatest game I watched was that Chiefs game. And man, that is going to lead into some talk, and we're going to let Ed go for a little bit so he can get on these comments, because I know what I'm about to say is going to very much fire some people up. And we will bring Ed back on because I will ask you your opinion here in a second.
Fired these Twitter comments in, got a great show, and I'm going to leave you with this because I want time for you guys to think about this when I come back on next, okay? Before I do go for it. But do you think the way that the Tampa Bay Rams game ended with Tom actually being a hero, and it really was the defense that gave up that big play to Cooper Kupp, do you think that actually might make him ride off into the sunset, knowing that he was a hero, and maybe because he will be 45, in August? Fault. Right. Do you think that might actually be a reason, instead of he just had a bad game and might give him motivation to come back next year, then that might actually make him actually retire and maybe, so that's my question for that. And let's have a great show, guys.
It's more likely than the time he threw an interception in New England and we knew he wasn't going to retire. Yeah, I think it's more likely than it was before. So I'll answer. Yeah, I'll sit on that for a little bit. All right,
okay, sounds good. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Have a great show.
All right, Cancel Anime over here says I can't get myself to cheer for the Bengals. Screw the Kentucky Bengals. Screw Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I know.
I understand that. I like Joe Burrow being from the Athens area. I like Joe Burrow, but I can totally understand other people's point of view.
I gotta say, really selfishly, that's the only thing that made me when the Bengals won. I was legitimately just man.
But I picked them, so I needed them to win.
I picked them too, and I thought they'd go. You know what I'm saying? I didn't believe in the Titans, never believed in them. But to see them go to an AFC Championship game when, collectively. So if you go back to our episodes, so we did a full division preview. We talked to Ravens, Bengals, and Steelers guys, all great people. Mm-hmm. And even when you talk to Browns people, the general consensus was that Cincinnati is, has talent, but is probably a year or two away, right? That was in general. I think their over under for wins was 7,
6.5.
6.5. Okay, so I was close. So it's the Vegas as well was all, basically telling you that Cincinnati wasn't there yet. And to see them now in the AFC Championship game, regardless of what happens, and God, they could go to the Super Bowl. That just we've dealt with the Ravens and Steelers being good for so long. and it's like Cincinnati, they weren't like bad like Cleveland all the time, but at least they weren't like winning playoff games. And now to see them win playoff games, ooh man, I'm hurting a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, I'm hurting.
I can get that, and I can get the people that feel that way. So the quarterback play that we watched, if we tie, we both lose, Mick says.
Oh.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. It's probably fairly accurate.
Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs.
Yeah. So no. Yeah. I don't know. I don't. I don't. So a lot of this conversation was sparked. Dustin Fox popped off in what I think is an unprofessional manner. I think a lot of people's response to him was also unprofessional, but Dan says that we're missing one hell of a Cavs game, and I know that Nick is watching it in the background.
I've got it right there. I'm just taking little glances.
But a lot of people said, here's the problem. And I heard Jake Burns speak about this, so I wanted to speak about it a little bit as well. The biggest issues as a Browns fan, you come away with what was, I thought, the greatest playoff game, football game I've ever watched, was you now realize, and I'm trying to think who else I saw tweet this, or it was Jake Trotter. It was Jake Trotter's article where he said having a really great I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along the lines of having a great quarterback isn't just a hope, it's a must to win the AFC. Like, that is where we're at. And I thought that Jake Trotter, the way he put that, actually, let me see if I can find the direct quote from Trotter. Okay. Because I really like what he said in relation.
Well, you look for that. I mean, like, it's true though, right? Like, you saw, I mean, honestly, like, Bills Chiefs probably is gonna end up being like the Super Bowl, even though it wasn't.
That was the AFC Championship game. Let's be real.
Very much so, I think. And you saw two quarterbacks that were just in a class of their own. And so I'm just, letting Jacob find this quote from Jake Trotter. It's like, you look at the rest of the AFC and just like, and coming into it, especially like Buffalo's defense was super highly rated, and the Chiefs have been no slouch themselves, and it just didn't matter. It was like every single possession in the second half that those quarterbacks got, they were going to score. Right? Gabriel Davis scored 4 touchdowns, I think. 4? Like,
yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
So there was just no there was, even though, especially Buffalo's defense is phenomenal, right? And you saw quarterbacks that rose so far above the norm, that it just didn't matter. And so it's really hard to feel like, even a year removed from a divisional round appearance, that anything else besides that type of quarterback play is good enough, because the running game was basically non-existent down the stretch. It was just pass, and that's all that's going to happen. And so, a lot of the stuff with Baker Mayfield and the Browns offense has been, play action and, control the clock with the run game and all this stuff. And that's, I mean, that's awesome. And I think, especially as the Browns were successful with it, we all jumped on that bandwagon and we're really happy with it. But I think you saw a brand of football that the two elite teams of the AFC can play. And it's kind of scary to think about if you don't have the passing game to play that with them.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people say you might be able to like slow the game down with your running game and some things like that. And maybe in the Browns case, maybe make this a little bit closer. Okay. I can't find the quote, but it was something along the lines of that, believing that you no longer just hope that you have Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Patrick Mahomes. It is almost a necessity at this point because of the competition you have to play. You have to play those two teams more likely than not. One of those, if you want to get to the Super Bowl every year going forward.
Yeah.
Either, maybe even both. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. You've got Joey Burrow out there that you're going to have to worry about twice a year in Cleveland's case, plus potentially the playoffs, potentially 3 times a year. You have Lamar Jackson. You know, you've got all of these things where in the playoffs, and that doesn't even count if you have to play Buffalo or Kansas City or something like that in the regular season.
Yeah.
So you have to have elite quarterback play. Here we are. I'm not here to shit on Baker Mayfield. I'm not here to pile on. But Jake Burns pointed it out, and it made me think, can Baker Mayfield do what I saw on Sunday? And the problem is I can't answer that. That's the problem. I'm not going to give you a definitive statement. I'm going to tell you what, he didn't come anywhere close to it this year, and I hope that the injury was the reason. I know the injury made him worse, but right now, after what I watched, I can't give all of that on the injury. I cannot give all of that on the injury. Baker has got to get back to the 2020 success and then some to win a Super Bowl. Do I think that he has the ability to? I do. I genuinely think he has the ability to do so. But at the same time, I'm not sure he does, because what I just saw, I saw nothing this year. Maybe the first game of the year, I saw nothing to suggest that he could duel like that in the playoffs. And that worries me. Now, granted, he almost led you to an AFC championship last week. He was the best player against the Chiefs in the divisional round. He had a hell of a playoff debut. So there is plenty of evidence that says, hey, he can be a really, really good quarterback. And that is what I think. He can be a really, really good quarterback. That's what I think is where he's at. He can be. The problem is, will he ever? I don't know. And that's a problem for me after year 4, that I don't know definitively.
I think what you're saying leads us into a nice little thing I've been working on, because so often,
also, I see all the comments and I will get caught up after Nick is done.
So often with Browns Twitter, it's very polarized, right? Everything's on one side or everything's on the other.
You can't be in the middle, which is where I try to live on this topic, and people do not like it.
And so you're either a Baker bro or a Baker hater. And I think this leads into a nice little thing I'm going to use sometimes. It's called Nick's Nuances. And I'm trying to add a little bit in the middle. Because, you know, Jacob and I are pretty similar in terms of mindset that way, I think. Where and you know, anyone who follows me along on Twitter knows that I have been sticking up for Baker Mayfield, but I'm not blind. I'm not here. You know, I'm not going to say that anything great about Baker.
Listen, look at this. Hold on, though. You got to see Cancel Anime's comments. I hate to be cynical, but I've lost faith in Brown's Twitter, and I think that is a very, very fair statement.
And I don't blame you, Cancel Anime. And there's been so much drama, and now it's with the local media. Baker, he's taking a break from Twitter. But I just want to add a little nuance into the conversation, because, you know, as Jacob referenced, right, the Browns were just people are so ready to kick Baker Mayfield out the door, make these big trades, send all these first round picks away, and all of that. And I'm not knocking that line of thought, right? Because obviously the Browns, no matter what, the Browns need improved quarterback play. That's the bottom line.
No matter where it comes from, they have to have it. Yes.
And so I just want to point out that while things are doom and gloom now, it was literally just over a year ago that the Browns season ended in the divisional round. People act like that playoff run was 10 years ago, the way they talk about Baker Mayfield now. But Baker had one of the best playoff debuts ever, right? And the Browns, you know, granted, I understand it wasn't just Baker carrying them like Mahomes and Allen have done. I understand that. But everything right now, and Jacob referenced this, you know, is the way, you know, that Baker broke down, you know, mentally and physically, right? I just want to add that in 2020, I don't want to get all my years mixed up here. they did help Baker both mentally and physically. Like Baker came in better shape, and then they helped his mechanics. They were able to improve. So I'm not saying that Baker's going to turn out to be this elite guy, but I am saying we're a little over a year from Baker playing the best football of his professional life. And I don't think there's any disputing that run in 2020 was his best football. So before we all
at least,
but yeah. And so before we all freak out, I just want to say, it's easy to be a prisoner of the moment, as Greg Newsome said, right? But when we need to look at the entire picture here before, it's time to trade 3 first-round picks for Kirk, 35-year-old Kirk Cousins. So that's all. Just add a little nuance, a little bit.
All right. I don't disagree with you. Let's catch up. I got all kinds of Twitter comments I want to catch up on, as well as several good points made over in the YouTube comments as well. Excuse me. All right. We want to give a shout out to Roger, Papa Mick, Freddie Wells, MC Lawrence, Gator Sutton, all of you guys tuning in. Gator Sutton says he's a Browns fan who teaches at Athens High School. Oh God. Ooh, buddy. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got it. You got it beat. That is probably, yeah, that is okay. My good friend Pickles Cage says to trade him to trade Baker to the Broncos for turnover Bridgewater and Drew Lock. I'm good. I'm not doing that. I see you in there, Pickles. I know what you're doing. Trying to get me to play these ridiculous trades. I know what you're doing. All right. Okay, here we go. We've almost beat Patrick Mahomes twice. I know almost, but hope is not lost. Right? Hope's not lost. But in those games that we almost beat Patrick Mahomes, he didn't play like he played this weekend. That's my point. When that Mahomes is what you're getting, when that Josh Allen's what you're getting, which is probably the versions you will get in the playoffs, can you rise to that? That's the question. Cancel Anime says, I agree. I hope Baker can reach somewhere really close to that level of play. What we saw, what we saw is what I think you have to be. Like, I just think that's where you have to be. Let's see here. Totem says Baker needs competition. We shouldn't have to give up anything to do that. Either draft someone or sign free agent. I think if they do it, well, I shouldn't say if they do anything, because I think they will do something, because I think they move on from Case Keenum. I think Nick Mullins, at least right now, is the backup, but I could see a day 2 quarterback. I don't know that they'll go second. Now that they have a compensatory third, for Kwesi, congratulations to Kwesi becoming the GM over in Minnesota. But now that they have a conditional third, maybe a 3rd-round pick, maybe a quarterback. It may be. And it may be as a developmental person to be the backup. It may not just be to push him, but likely it's probably a day 4, a day 3 pick, or some veteran free agent. Maybe it's even Mitchell Trubisky. But I think they will. I think they will bring in competition. Although I think Mitchell Trubisky probably goes wherever Brian Dable goes. Here's my take. Does Baker have the talent and ability somewhere in him to play on that elite level, or at least borderline? Yes. Will he be able to bring out the post first? That's it. That's where I'm at. I know he has the ability. I don't know if he has the ability to go quite to the step that what we saw Sunday, and that's the problem. I don't know.
Let's be honest. There's a handful of quarterbacks who have that ability.
Absolutely. But you have to, like, Cancel Anime kind of made my point really well, I think. Borderline elite level, can you get there? Borderline close. Sure. Like, what's his line against the Steelers? 346 and 3 touchdowns or something? 326.
That sounds right.
You give me that with this run game and the way this defense is coming around, and you can win a Super Bowl with that kind of thing.
No,
you don't have to do what Josh Allen did specifically, but if you can be close to 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, don't turn the football over in that situation, then then you can.
I was looking for this a while you were talking. They do play the Bills next year.
I think Cancel Anime said that.
Yeah. I couldn't find. I was looking for the tweet, but they play the Chargers again. So you're talking, between Burrow twice, Herbert, and Allen. You're playing the class of the AFC quarterbacks, except for Lamar. I don't want to disrespect him.
Well, you have You have an opportunity, man. Baker's got the opportunity.
Yeah.
He has absolutely got the opportunity because in the end, I think he will be the starter day one. Yeah, I think so. Totem says, let's see. Well, if you look at Jimmy G, it's astounding how similar their play has been. Yeah, it is. Living in California, it's crazy how the Bay Area makes excuses for Jimmy G, but in Cleveland, they shred Baker. Yeah, it just depends on where you're looking. Baker's middle of the road quarterback. That's okay. Aaron Rodgers is elite, and he's 0-4 against San Francisco in the playoffs. That's what I said.
I heard somebody talk about Jimmy Garoppolo the other day and say he's not like dramatically, his ceiling isn't dramatically higher than what Baker Mayfield's is. It's just Jimmy Garoppolo is consistently good, whereas Baker dips down into
he goes above and below, whereas Garoppolo is kind of a lot. Yeah, I think that's probably fairly accurate. I think that's a pretty good way to put it. Has Baker been elite during his career? Yes, but he's never had an elite season. There it is.
Yeah.
He's had elite runs of games where he looks like a top 5 guy, but he's never had a full. Exactly. Mm-hmm. And that's what we wanted this year, right? That's what we spent all off season talking about. We need that elite play for longer than the back.
Yeah.
What worries me, you saw the same issues this year that were fixed last year.
Yep.
With the feet and the decision-making and the field vision. I can't take regression. If you're not able to take the next step, okay, I guess. Especially because what we had in the final 10 games, I can live with that as what I get out of my quarterback play because I got Nick Chubb and I got an improving defense. But I can't if we're taking steps back. I can't do that.
No.
Drafts week on quarterbacks, so give Baker one more shot. I think ultimately that's what happens because of that. Kelly doesn't want Cousins because he isn't clutch, but neither is Baker. Yeah, I mean, you got to find ways to win games when it's on you to win.
Yeah.
There's just I remember the way I felt when he beat Cincinnati, the 5 touchdown performance. I knew he was going to win that game. It felt like even when Joe Burrow threw that touchdown and they scored and there was like a minute and some, and I don't even think we had any timeouts or whatever it was. I was like, they're going to score. Like he is going to go down. But I can't tell you definitively, confidently, without lying to you that I felt that way in very many other games against good teams.
I think, that's the thing. This weekend of great football, like, for example, if Buffalo scores on the Brown, if Buffalo scores, if Brown, I don't know how to say this the right way. Okay. If the Browns are in the Chiefs' place and Buffalo scores on Cleveland with 13 seconds left, and then
You're not winning that game.
And then Baker doesn't go down and do it, it'll be the defense. But we saw Patrick Mahomes, like the Chiefs had every reason to lose because they couldn't stop Josh Allen. Right. And Patrick Mahomes just said, no, we're not losing. We're not losing the game. And just like the Rams gave that away to Tampa Bay. And Matt Stafford was like, no, I'm not interested. I'm not. And so it's like the quarterback needs to be able to, even when things go wrong, the quarterback needs to be able to right those wrongs.
Though that talent's in there, man. I think that talent is in there. But watching those quarterbacks on Sunday, it bothered me a little bit.
Yeah,
so
me too.
If Andrew Berry thinks there's an upgrade, he's going to upgrade. I literally 2 quarterbacks in this draft. One of them goes way too high, even though he probably shouldn't. But all signs, in my opinion, I don't think Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson's coming. Those are the only ones I would move on from Baker for.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're coming, which is fine. That's fine. I think you're going to roll with him. If I can get if 2020 Baker is his ceiling, I think he can win a Super Bowl with that.
For a whole year of that? Of
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I can get him in the play because I think the numbers don't do him justice in the Kansas City game. Agreed. He was a lot better than what the numbers said in the Kansas City game. But, I got the same feeling with Josh Allen and Mahomes during that game that I had during Baker's 5 touchdowns. The feeling that a quarterback that's so incredible that nothing can stop him. Right.
Yeah.
You got I just don't know if you're that guy, if you can be that guy. I hope.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm discouraged. Let's move the hell off of this, man. We're about halfway through the show. A lot of these off-season shows are going to be around closer to an hour, so we're going to keep it a little down. We got some great guests, some great ideas coming up.
We do.
Some things like that and all that. But we're going to bring Ed back on for Ed's Go For It segment for the second week in a row. Ed's got some questions. He wants to know if we're going to punt on these things or if we're going to go for it. So, Ed, you have the floor. Let's go for it.
Okay, first question. Obviously, we see what they do in Tennessee with Derrick Henry, and that man gets the rock. And Nick Chubb, the knock with Stefanski is he doesn't get the rock enough. Now, we all know the shelf life of running back isn't that long, 4, 5, 6, 7, maybe great years, and the rest is kind of downhill. With the Browns looking, if they bring Baker back, obviously, which I think is their best option, you're going to have to rely more on the run. Is it time that we just say, you know what? We're paying Chubb about, $12 to $13 million. Take the handcuffs off and just feed him the rock for next year. Would you guys go for that?
So I'm gonna punt on that simply for this. I don't know where they ended up, but for most of the year, they were third in rushing attempts. So this notion that they're not running the football enough or at a high rate is a load of crap. Like they're running it more than almost 3/4 of the league. I get what you're saying. Even more, be number one.
No, run it with your best player.
Yeah, he's saying like don't
Right.
take.
I mean, why not run it with your best player? I mean, Chubb is the best player on the field.
Right.
Why not run
But
it?
Chubb misses games now. Chubb is now, he had the knee last year. He had COVID this year. He has the calf strain. That hurts on the numbers just solely because, hasn't been out there and he's missed time this year. Do I want Chubb to have the ball more? Yeah, sure. I just don't know where that number is, what that magic line is. I think when you have a healthy Kareem Hunt, I was
just about to go there. Where were the formations with Hunt and Chubb both on the field at the same time?
They finally did it. They finally did it when Hunt came back, and they did it several times, and then he got hurt in that game that they did it.
Yeah.
And they were clearly doing it. Like, you realize the play that he got hurt, they were both on the field at the same time? Like that, right? Yeah. So if you are healthy,
well, I guess going forward next year, do more of that from the get-go, I guess.
Yes. If that's what you're asking me, then yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think when Kareem Hunt is there because of how good he is, because Kareem Hunt was the best player on this team till he went down that first time.
Yeah, he was.
He was the best player on the offense. I think the numbers were exactly where they should have been.
Okay.
But then you lost him.
You know what? I would be tempted to say that they should, strictly run Nick Chubb more if there wasn't so much evidence that wide receivers were open and the plays weren't getting executed because the quarterback.
That's usually my answer, Nick.
There were
great question.
So, thanks to all of our wonderful patrons, we were able to get the Game Pass and I was able to go back to look at a lot of the games, and like you could really like spend time seeing like, okay, were guys open here, or did Baker just miss guys open, or was there nothing there?
It was a little bit of both.
And yeah, it was a little bit of both, but I think far too often there were opportunities for pass plays that Stefanski had called and it just wasn't executed. So I think the offense itself, I thought the offense itself was overall still good. If not, it could have been great. So I'm gonna punt just because I have that information along with everything else.
Yeah,
fair enough. I think we're all in agreement with that. Obviously there's times, but I think with the injuries and everything that transpired this past year, I think everybody to a man would say, yes, let's give Chubb the rock more. But obviously, but I think going forward, I don't want the recipe to be the Derrick Henry. Because I don't think it needs to be. If guys are open, I think a healthy Baker hits them. I think this isn't even a discussion if things would have went the way that we thought it was going to go.
A healthy Baker would have been a lot better. How much better? Not sure, but it would have been a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. That's okay. But I want to stay lighthearted with the second question because we all know Jacob. Now it's really, really cold outside right now. Really, really, really cold. My kids actually got the day off of school again today, second day, and they're on a 2-hour delay for tomorrow because of the cold. And so we know Jacob doesn't like to leave the house if it's not above 50 degrees. Okay. So
that is probably my magic number. Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. So if you're like, I know Cleveland is going to do some renovations and some things down by the lakefront for the stadium, but I think this team, I think the Browns, I think the fan experience, like we all like to stay at home with our TVs and we don't like, if I'm Jimmy Haslam, who has billions of dollars, would you guys go for it in the fact that let's build Cleveland a dome? Are you guys sick of Indianapolis Detroit getting all these conventions and NCAA games? And I'm kind of sick of it. I'm seeing all these other cities get millions and millions of dollars, and yet Cleveland is a great city. I love it. We all know how great it is, and Nick can attest to it because he gets to live there every day, and what a treasure that is, and you should be thankful and grateful for it. Why not? Let's build a dome, guys. If you're Jimmy Haslam, do we go for it and just say F it and build that damn dome that I've wanted for years?
I'm going to say go for it, and you want to know why? I'm tired of having kicker problems.
That's true.
Give me a dome. Screw it. Because everybody tells me, well, how does he kick in bad weather? How does it? Screw it. Put a dome on the damn thing. Cold sucks.
I'll tell you what, I think Ed saw this tweet of mine, and it was during, I think, the national championship, the college national.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm tired of all these other cities getting these massive events that Cleveland could greatly benefit from. And on top of that, okay, I don't know. Maybe this is a bad take. Maybe it's a hot take. I don't know. I think First Energy Stadium's in a terrible location. I don't care if it's by the Muni lot. It should be. You know what? There's so many other cities.
It is a weird location.
It's so far away from everything else. If you could find a way to centralize it a little bit more, because it's like the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse and Progressive Field are right there by each other.
It should be south of that. It should be south of that in the main complex.
Yeah. Yes. Because there's so many businesses and so many things that thrive and benefit
from that. Isn't the casino right by Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse?
Yes. There's actually you don't even have to go outside. You could just walk in the nice little sky.
Can you?
Yeah. So no,
Jacob like that. You don't think
almost like they planned that or not. Dan Gilbert, but
you gotta give Dan Gilbert that. He's kind of been a little interesting from time to time in some of his business decisions, but as a business decisions, he knows what he's doing.
Prince Cash. What is he? The second wealthiest owner in like North American sports.
Is he really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I just, what, and it frustrates me so much because it's like, if you want to go anywhere from the Muni lot, for example, which, is like your closest Browns tailgating, really, I mean, you're huffing it to West 6 or like anywhere, any of those bars. Like if you want to go from like from the Muni lot to the Clevelander or from First Energy to the Clevelander or whatever, you're in for a trek.
So are
they called bar crawls, not bar hikes?
Yeah, but so you don't care about the dome. You just care about the wear.
I just think
it's the fan experience. It's the fan experience all together.
And then you know what? You could use that waterfront for like so many other things downtown. Like it's like our stadium just takes up that waterfront, and then it sits dormant for the vast majority of the year. I hate all of it from a city design perspective. It's just not. It doesn't make sense. And yeah, I'm not one of these people. I do like the snow, the weather games. I really do like them, but I would give them up if it would benefit our city more.
Baker in a dome with I'm telling you, he's a dome quarterback.
Yeah.
And we get a Super Bowl. We could get a Super Bowl. If we got a new stadium, we could get a Super Bowl.
I want one.
The NFL rewards cities that build new stadiums with Super Bowls.
Kansana says, do you think that we should run the RPO? Baker's been great at it even during the Kitchens years. I will say this. The best Baker Mayfield we ever saw was under center in a play action game.
Yeah.
Now he was really good. He was really good out of empty this year. Actually, some of his best numbers were in the shotgun out of empty. Does that lead to some RPOs? Yes, it does. I do think more RPOs, more gun. I think Stefanski evolved his offense for Baker, but Baker's health didn't allow him to grow in the evolution of the offense. So, yes, I think that is something that's being mixed in. Ed, we are going to let you pop over to the Twitter comments real quick. Awesome. I'm going to do my draft corner, and then we're going to wrap this thing up with a bow.
Great stuff, Ed. Thank you.
Great second week of it, guys. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Go for it, baby. All right. So I want to talk real quick in my draft corner here about some edge players. So I wrote a piece. It is still pinned at the top of my profile at Roachism13 on Twitter for Couch Guy Sports. Potential edge targets. I wrote 3 of them, and I want to just go a little bit more in depth real quick, a rundown of them. We're going to start with David Ojabo. I don't think that the Browns will draft. I think the Browns go with wide receiver in the first round. I think everybody thinks that. I am putting a mock out this week in order where for the first time I will do a mock draft where I don't take a wide receiver in the first round. But if they don't, it could be for someone like David Ojabo out of Michigan. Like, this dude, I think I can't remember the exact number, but I think he was, I read somewhere he's only been playing football for like 5 years.
Wow.
5 or 6 years, somewhere in that range. He ends up next to Aiden Hutchinson. He finishes with 11 sacks, 12 tackles for a loss, and 5 forced fumbles. 5 forced fumbles in the regular. Like, that is the thing I want to tell you. That's what I want you to highlight. If you go out and watch some David Ojabo film, you're going to notice the first thing that he does, this dude just goes after the football. David Ojabo doesn't really crazily go after like, David Ojabo goes after the football. Like, he is like always like, he's got his hands out like this, swiping at the football. It feels like every time he is going after the quarterback, he's not going after a quarterback. Quite often he goes after the football before he even attempts to sack the quarterback. Like, he ends up forcing 5 fumbles, and they were on plays where he rakes at the ball with both hands. Just watch any clip of him. And even when there's a couple times where he almost like, there's like 2 or 3 more where the quarterback lost the ball, but then like gets it real quick.
Okay.
Things like, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, oh no, oh shit, and like, so Ojabo, like, that's what I love about this dude. And people are like, oh, he got aided by the fact that he played opposite Aiden Hutchinson. Well, if he goes to the Browns, he'll play opposite of Myles Garrett and it'll be fine.
There you
So
go.
this is a guy on the other side that's going after the football, man. He is going after the football. Like, I think that is awesome. He is so fast and he's got a wicked spin move. He's speed and athleticism. He is one of those freaky athlete guys that you say, listen, you only like, he had 1 stat prior to it. And like, he only had like 1 tackle. So like, other than this year, there's really nothing in college productivity wise. So he's going to need to grow. It's not a lot, but like flip on some tape of him, man. Flip on some tape for him. If we build a dome, can we at least get real grass? Well, yeah, I want it to be a retractable dome with the real grass and everything.
That would probably be the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, during September and October and stuff, the dome's open. But once it starts pouring rain, we aren't playing no damn monsoon games or snow games. Yeah, we're not doing that. So that's what I think about that. We got a couple of Twitter comments. Mahomes is great, but we underestimate how good No, we don't. Kelsey and Hill are great. They're amazing. But Patrick Mahomes, when you play like you did on Sunday,
oh my God,
who's better than that?
It's not fair.
It's not fair. It's a cheat code. He was an absolute cheat code. He was killing them for 3 quarters with his legs. So now Travis Kelce was the reason they scored in 13 seconds. That was Travis Kelce. He changed the route and he got open. That was Travis Kelce. But Mahomes is really good. Big Cookie says Baker needs to run more. We saw him run more this year. The only problem was he's just healthy.
Not.
He shouldn't have been doing it.
He's got a 3.
My day 2 draft crush is Drake Jackson of USC. I've said this before. I said it this would be more drafting potential over production. 3 years at USC, 12 and a half sacks in 3 years. 25 tackles for loss, not a lot. But this is a dude, like I watched him high point like he was a wide receiver and intercept a pass this year. Like that is the that is the kind of freak athlete that you do not see very often. Like Drake Jackson is a lot of fun. Like I think he's this guy, like he's got that rare blend where he can I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong one. Drake Jackson, like he's probably not going to produce a ton this year. He's that kind of guy. Like he is definitely a guy you take because you take him to be Tack McKinley.
Okay.
So you take him to be Tack McKinley's role behind Jadeveon Clowney, who I think they re-signed, and then you allow him to grow. This guy is fast. He's just freaky, man. People don't get blessed with this kind of athleticism every day. The final guy I like to talk about is Maijai Sanders.
Maijai.
My guy.
My guy, your guy, okay. I'm gonna be pretty smart about these draft picks by the time we're all said and done here.
It is no secret that I like Maijai Sanders out of UC. I've drafted him very many times in the second round of my mocks. He had 7 sacks in 2020, 2.5 this year. Luke Fickell even admitted that he played out of position. They had him out there playing outside linebacker at times and doing things that he wasn't totally like, that wasn't his best spot, but because of his skill and talent, they played him out of position a lot and it worked. This guy's best quality reminds me of Jadeveon Clowney and the way he sets the edge in the run game.
Yes, please.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Okay. He said, I read a comment, I got distracted. He does the dirty work. Like I put that in there. He is known to do some of the dirty work, setting the edge in the run, but he contains people. He sets the outside contain. He keeps these broken monster plays and turns them into broken 7-yard gains, which if a guy hems in Lamar Jackson, he runs up the middle for 4 yards, you're not going to realize it. But in the film study, you're going to be like, oh my God, if Maijai Sanders is not where he is, Lamar runs for 40. That's the stuff that he's going to do that's not going to jump off. If he is in the right situations, he's put in the right situation to succeed, I think he's going to blossom into a great player. He's probably going to live in the 5 to 8 sack range because that's just not truly his only thing. But Maijai, he's an edge rusher. He's an outside contain kind of guy. He plays some outside linebacker. He's more better with his hand in the dirt, I think, personally. But it's going to be he needs to work on consistency when it comes to production and things like that. Explosive. That's where I was trying to find the word that I had used. He was very, very explosive. His get off is Drake Jackson is the same. From going from not moving to get off, him and Maijai Sanders are both really good to get. That's my biggest quality. I don't know about you guys. One of the best things I think about when it comes to an edge rusher is how fast you get off the ball, man. Because we're talking fractions of seconds, the difference between sacks, fumbles, interceptions, and touchdowns. Fractions of seconds. Don't waste fractions of seconds.
I think this year was the first year that the Browns had like any real depth with Tack McKinley at edge rusher, I think. Because before it was like Myles Garrett, and then like they had Olivier.
Had Olivier, but there was nobody behind him. He had Adrian Claiborne, which was like,
So it's like, Claiborne had a couple nice plays, but I think he mostly he wasn't like where Tack McKinley was really starting to shine before his injury. And so it's like you're like, okay, we're really starting to. So if the Browns can get some kind of quality edge player, right, to like a young one that they can potentially have for the next however many years, that would be a real turning of the corner, right? Because you put yourself in so many situations where it's like, I mean, obviously, when TJ Watt gets hurt, obviously the Steelers defense suffers, and just like Myles Garrett, but it's like you need to be able to. If there's anything we learned, it's like you're going to hit a lot of bumps in the road, and you have to be able to continue to overcome them. And so the thing I'm most excited about with Andrew Berry is just has been his drafting, because you won't really see
thinking.
Sorry, what?
Forward thinking when it
Forward
comes
thinking.
to that.
Yeah. And so
the big picture.
You might not see all of it bear fruit immediately, but you're working towards. There's a reason that Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah got hired to be a GM, right? Because other teams know that Andrew Berry and company know what they're doing, and respect it enough.
AJ Green didn't pay off his rookie year. Did someone tell me he had a massively amazing coverage grade according to PFF this year?
Ooh.
Wait, was that a move that didn't pay off the first year, but down the road because it was forward thinking in the big picture?
Yeah. And that's what you need. It's like you're not just building for today. You have to build for tomorrow, because like for example, like the Rams are doing it, different than everyone else. And kudos to them. I know
it's working, I guess.
And it's working, right? But if they don't win a Super Bowl, I mean, it's failed, right? Because they have zero ability to improve, moving forward.
So draft.
Yeah. So I mean, and now we got 2 extra third-round picks.
Well, one this year and one next year.
Sorry, yeah, but sorry, I wasn't specific about that.
And Glenn Cook may get hired next offseason, and then we'll get another pair.
So, and you know what? A lot of people are saying, how are you going to beat these teams if Josh Allen and if Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are so much better than everybody else? I'll tell you how. You just have a better. The football is not played by one position. If your team, if your team's just so much better, right? If Andrew Berry can keep finding, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah in the second round, well, then suddenly you're gonna be able to overcome a lot of issues.
Shut them down. If your quarterback can't be as good as them, bring him down to your quarterback's level with good defense.
The only time Patrick Mahomes did look human was when Tampa Bay just ate him alive with 4 people.
Ate him alive.
With just a front 4, really.
Where does Baker rank amongst AFC teams, in your opinion? So right now he's the 3rd best quarterback in his division.
Yeah.
And so that puts he's somewhere around 10 in the AFC. Now.
Yeah, no, I mean,
can he be a top 5 guy behind? Like, can he be top 5 behind like Herbert, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Herbert, Mahomes,
Jackson,
Lamar, and him somewhere fighting for 5? Yeah, I think so. I think he can be there. But right now he's somewhere around 10 because Derek Carr's better than he is. Yeah. Kirk Cousins was better this year. I know the numbers were better at times. Tannehill was better until Tannehill looked awfully a lot. Yeah, he looked an awfully lot like Baker did on Christmas.
That brought something that made me think of something. Remember the all the hype about trading for Julio Jones and all that stuff? And that was like a huge discussion of Browns Twitter. Man,
that was a weird week on Browns.
It was weird. I don't know. I wasn't really sure where I was going with that. It was just interesting, because they did give up a 2nd round pick for the guy, and then he really didn't play a whole lot. He was hurt, just like he commonly was. Because we had our good friend. Why is my brain not working right now? I can't. We had Sam Penix on.
Yeah, Sam
Penix. Sorry, his name was in my brain, but it just went. And he was like
great. You need to follow Sam Penix.
Yeah, I love Sam Penix, but he came on and he was a huge advocate of trading for Julio Jones, and it's just interesting to see how stuff looks beyond that.
Yeah. All right, guys, we're going to bring back on producer Ed. That's all the Browns related content we really have for you. Nick has got some fun. Nick, you got something for us, don't you?
I gave it to you a little earlier in the episode this time.
Oh, man.
but I would like to add just to the overall of the Baker conversation and kind of all of this is the the biggest piece that I think isn't talked about that probably should be is before the season. So finishing off the Knicks nuances here, because I think it's going to be fun to add a little context to this stuff. But the biggest piece that wasn't talked about that everyone was raving about before the season is continuity, right? And so we're finally like, Baker's going to get a second year in an offense. Think about how much better he could be. He's had all this turnover, all this blah, blah, blah. Well, to me, I feel like he was robbed of that because when he gets hurt, and so you start with the shoulder, right? And so obviously they're going to start calling plays a little differently because whether they admit it or not, that Baker is not 100% when he gets hurt. And then you go from that to the heel injury, the hip or whatever, and then you see him barely like limping back to the huddle or limping back. You're not calling a true full offense with that guy, right? You're not, because he's not physically capable of doing that.
That touches on what I said. Is I thought Stefanski's offense with the no huddle in the empty, when you see the efficiency of it, he was evolving it. He was incorporating more of what Baker did successfully in college. And the limitations just didn't allow us to truly see that.
So I just want to conclude that with saying, if Baker is back, there is a little piece to this that, a healthy Baker could actually look legitimately better because he finally can run the full offense in an additional year of a system.
Yeah.
I'm going to give a little historical hope here. Bernie, took the Browns to the AFC Championship game in the drive and the fumble, but then got hurt the first game in 1988 in Kansas City. Okay. It was basically out like the whole year, but the Browns were still good enough and they made the playoffs. They lost to the Oilers in the wild card game. But then in 89 happened, and he got banged up quite a bit. And, I think with Baker getting hurt this year, kind of like Bernie did in 88, could be a blessing going into next year, because if all the troubles that he had with his accuracy, which I think had to do with his planting his foot and everything like that, and his obviously his shoulder and the harness and everything like that.
So violently.
Yes, in the way he throws it. I mean, Baker was very accurate, just like Kozar was. Okay, and so that's the one hope that I have for him going into next year. Now he has to make better decisions. One thing about Bernie, he was very cerebral. But I think with Stefanski and the offense, because it doesn't ask the quarterback to do a lot. And like you said, Nick, when we talk about the running and with Chubb, there were so many wide receivers that were open. And I think Baker saw them, but for whatever reason, he wasn't confident enough to make those throws, whether it be, the shoulder, whether it be the foot. I don't think Baker, when he was looking out there, I think he saw the guys. He just wasn't confident enough to throw the ball because of the physical limitations. He gets healthy. He gets his mind right. Now he's off social media. I hope he stays off. And not because, look, it's a free country, do what you want. But I think Baker needs to get away from all the toxicity. I think we all sometimes, it's just even as Browns fans, need to get away from it. We're so passionate about the Cleveland Browns, and that is a great thing. Unfortunately, when things don't go right, that passion turns into toxic behavior. And but that just means we love them. It just means we love them so much, and that I would rather have a fan base at times get toxic when things are going, because when things are going to be great, it's going to be awesome, and we deserve it as fans. We deserve it. The team deserves it. The city deserves it. And you know what? I'm going to get behind Baker. I think he is our best option. And if he can pull what Kozar did in '89 and get us back to where we are, because like I said, he's accurate. I do still believe that he's an accurate quarterback. And then I think it's get the defense. And I think with the draft, let's we're talking about receivers. We need to obviously get better receivers, and I get that. But this whole notion that of an overhaul with the offense, that's fine and that's great. But Andrew Berry, word to the wise, make sure that defense keeps getting better and better. I want this defense to be 2,000 Ravens, 85 Bears, because you're going to go up against Mahomes and Allen and Burrow, and those guys aren't going to get any worse. Okay, we know they're always going to have prolific offenses, but you know what? Why can't the Browns have the best defense in all of football? And keep getting studs. Why not? We always talk about defense always wins games. That's what dogs stand for, and that's what I'm going to stand for. And hopefully that's what the dog pound is about. It's not about this rah, let's score a lot of points. It's about shutting shit down on the lakefront. And since we ain't getting a dome anytime soon, and it's going to be cold, let's win it with defense and hard hits and make those when they come to Cleveland. they're going to leave and they're going to feel the pain. That's, and as a fan, we all feel the pain, and I'm sick of it. Let's have fun at the Muni Lot, and let's have some fun, guys. Let's go. I'm excited about this off season. I'm excited about what the show's going to bring. I'm excited about you two gentlemen that I'm taking this ride with. Let's go Browns.
Let's go.
Excited about the dog chug at 10 p.m. tonight.
Dog chug. Ed's doing a double header, bringing the
I love
energy
it.
strong all the way through.
Andy, Roger, and Ross, we're going to bring you some laughs and some other stuff. We hit you with some hard Browns content here, but we're a little bit lighter on the Browns content, but we definitely bring that a little bit. But we're going to bring the laughs and the fun, and Andy's got a fun show designed for tonight. So join us 10 o'clock on the Dog Chug. You won't regret it.
I just want to say about your stuff. I took a lot of heat. I didn't know I was going to. I'm an advocate of changing the overtime rules. I came up with my own rule.
Me too. Me too.
My own rule that says if the NFL is adamant that the touchdown rule to win the game is going to stay there. If the NFL is adamant, then the team that scored last in regulation should not be allowed to get the ball first. Right? Yep. To me, that makes sense. But what you said, right? And I took a lot of flack for that because apparently people like the overtime rules. Okay. So they were like, well, Buffalo's job is the NFL is a game of offense and defense. Buffalo's job is to play defense. So play defense, right? And so to your point, right? If Buffalo was playing this great defense, they could have stopped Patrick Mahomes and got the ball back. They didn't. They gave up the touchdown.
Well, and then, I got to tip my cap to Josh Allen because when he was asked after the game, he said he would have celebrated the same way if they would have won the coin toss and went down there. So he admits that, basically, I don't like the rule, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse of why we lost the game. The Bills had the number one defense in the NFL. The only thing I would like to see is that you should have to go for two then. If nothing else with that, if you're gonna try to make it a little bit, and if you don't get the 2-point conversion, then the game doesn't end.
Give everybody the ball at the 25 and let's just do her.
I love that.
I'm with that. As an Ohio State fan, hey man, good.
It would be that would be the greatest NFL TV.
What if we got like 4 overtimes of that game we saw on Sunday?
That would be.
Probably.
I'm still playing that game.
You're still right.
Josh Allen's just like, my God.
We'd still be watching it though. Would we?
Tell me that wouldn't be the best thing you've ever seen.
I'd be the sickest I've ever been. I'd be calling off work. It's like,
I think work would understand if they'd be doing the same thing. 50 million people watch that game at the end. 50 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, wow, we've jumped around from a lot of topics, but again, all these little segments have added so much fun. Jacob, I don't know anything about any of these draft prospects, and I'm slowly learning from you and Ed. Ed, it's going to be a fun
draft this week. I've got a really fun. I made some trades and ended up drafting 10 players in my mock that is coming out.
Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4.
I only remember trading like twice too, so I'm not sure but yeah, it's my first non-wide receiver round 1 draft. Next week will be my first quarterback drafted draft. And I'm not saying he's going in the first, but I'm going to take a quarterback.
All right.
I want to I want to say, hey, maybe the Browns don't go wide receiver. Maybe they go out and get Michael Gallup, Allen Robinson. Maybe they get one of these guys where they think that they're going to go after a guy that I like a lot. So right now, I'll tell you right now, if they take a wide receiver in the first round, there's like 6 dudes in round 1, and I'm fine with it, even at 13.
Wow.
Yeah. So Garrett Wilson's. I love Garrett Wilson. I love Chris Olave. Treylon Burks is great. Drake London's great. I'll take Jameson Williams if you get a number 1 because you might have to wait a little bit on Jameson Williams. I think Jameson Williams was the pick until he tore his ACL.
Yes, I agree. I agree.
I'll take Jahan Dotson at 13, man. That dude after the catch, I've taken him in a lot of mocks at like 44, but I will take Jahan Dotson. I will even you could even talk me into David Bell if you traded back a little bit. There's like 7 dudes that I'm like, that's fine. So I went ahead and I drafted a non-wide receiver round 1. That draft will drop on Friday.
All right.
And I'll get destroyed for it. I know it. It's fine.
The draft never goes as everyone plans, right? So you got to do all these scenarios. They sound crazy, and then it never goes how they like.
Do you know how many times in the mock simulator I was able to draft Greg Newsome at 26 last year?
How many?
Just not very often. I only picked him a handful of times.
And we got JOK too.
A lot of people thinking,
I never picked JOK at 26.
That's what I was saying. Like JOK was supposed to be his first round pick, and what?
Yeah.
You know? So for those who are listening on the podcast, I want to just say I appreciate you. We appreciate you, but I have quite a mop of hair that you probably need to see. So we're at about the hour and 9 mark right now, because if Cincinnati wins on Sunday, which
who they think they beat them Bengals?
God, I hate them. I hate them. I'm growing to hate them already. But if Cincinnati wins, Jacob and I will tie. So I think it is only fair, as one of our listeners pointed out, that we would both be losers in that scenario. So this mop, I think Jacob and I think you might agree that we both I shaved my hair into a mohawk.
Yes, that the fans both win.
Rock the Fu Manchu.
They'll both win.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So if Kansas City, if Cincinnati wins,
I also drafted a kicker. So that's
hey, Cincinnati did it 5th round, right? McPherson.
Did you know that he is now Cincinnati's all-time leader in 50-yard field goal makes, and he's a rookie?
God.
I remember that Jim Breach back in the day, and I just remember him versus Matt Barr, and we've always had some good kickers going up against the Bengals. So we need to get one to match that, because that they're going to be a thorn in our side.
Was supposed to be that guy for us, right? Didn't we draft Zane
Gonzalez?
Right,
you said that thing, so this show's over. So anyway, Nick is going to get us out of here because we're talking about Zane Gonzalez, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I got other things to do.
That's totally fair.
Dog jug 10 o'clock.
All right, dog jug 10 o'clock.
Get us out,
Love
Nick.
you guys. Can't wait to watch. This has been the Peyton Hillis episode of the Barking Browns Show. I'm Nick. That's Ed. He's Jacob. Go Browns.
Go Browns!